Hey Torinos, it's garlic planting time.
It is the second week of October. I'm going to try to get the garlic in a little early this year. And here's my garlic bed in the fall of 2022. All the weeds have been pulled and it's ready to plant. And just to explain what we're doing this year, a little different, I've separated the garlic cloves that we're planting into large, medium, small, and extra small. And then I also have a bunch of larger but extra year old garlic cloves from the previous year that we never ate before they started to grow. So we're going to plant them in the garlic bed in groups so that we can see how well each group grows and how well it develops another large useful head of garlic. Because everyone says, well, the bigger cloves will get you your bigger plant, and it makes sense, but I want to see how well that's true and how well it matters, and of course whether the year-old garlic can still be planted and grow us good garlic. So the garlic bed is about 4.5 feet by 10 feet, and I can fit about 400 heads of garlic in there. Alright, the first rack is in. All the holes made. Everyone has a garlic clove. We're putting the old cloves in first, and then we'll go to the large cloves and the medium and the small. And that way if there's any extra cloves left over, it'll be the extra small that probably won't make as good of a plant. And I'm just using a pointed stick to make the holes one at a time. And I got my helper over there packing down the dirt. And we'll get this knocked out and see what comes up next year. Check it out, Toolerinos. Got a ultralight flying over my garden. It's hard to keep it in the center of the camera. Cool. I could hear it coming for like 5 minutes. Alright, moving right along. My helper insists we keep filming a little bit more. Is that the garlic dance? And the final step for planting the garlic in 2022 was to cover the planted bed with sort of a mulch, which is 2 layers of pine needles and leaves alternating. I did try to crush up the leaves a bit so they didn't sort of mat down and form a barrier. I just want it to sort of insulate the ground so it stays warmer longer through the winter without freezing, and keeps in the moisture so that hopefully we'll have a better garlic harvest next year. It's always a little bit of an experiment. One year I've done leaves, one year I've done pine needles. I've never done both. So we'll see how it turns out. Garlic update, first week of March 2023. The garlic on the right is definitely a little less successful looking than the garlic in the middle and farther left. I know the garlic all the way left was smaller cloves, but they seem pretty decent size leaves, just like the ones closer to the middle. So we'll see, how they come out. Alright, here is a garlic update for 2023 on Juneteenth. And the garlic's getting pretty close. It's been about 2 weeks since I started picking scapes. And you can see all the trimmed off scape stems hanging everywhere. And I pick them off when they're shorter, but the stem continues to come up, but no flower develops, of course. And on the right side is the older 2-season-old cloves that I used just to see if they would grow pretty well. And you can see they did grow. They will produce garlic, but their size and quality look similar to more or less the smaller cloves that I planted on the other side. And so where the change in the plants changes, when the change in the plants occurs, that's where it switches from the old cloves to the big fresh cloves, and then they got progressively smaller as I planted, and the plants got smaller. So we'll see how the garlics come up, but it should prove the concept of planting bigger cloves yields bigger garlic. Leo, I'm trying to make a film here. Wow, you already ate, and you won't eat garlic. What's your problem? All right. Meow. He's a flopper. It's garlic harvest time. It is July 3rd. I'm here in Northeast Ohio. The garlic has browned on the tips of the leaves, and if you look down low, you'll see the lower two leaves of the plants are all more or less completely dried up and starting to show signs of rot, so we need to get these plants out of the ground. I usually like to wait for a drier day, but it just finished raining. Might make it a little easier to get the garlic out of the ground, but I don't want to wait any longer. We have a couple sunny days in the forecast. I'm going to try something a little different this year. I'm going to lay the garlic out on this trailer, on these boards, and leave them outside in the sun for at least a couple days before any more rain, in the hopes that that will help quickly dry the garlic and cure it and maybe make it last longer. So here we go. Everything's an experiment, right? One thing to note, the multi-layers of pine needles and leaves, which I used as mulch on the bed after planting the cloves, worked very well to keep down the weeds. The only weeds are down low, and honestly they seem to have done best where the garlic did the worst, which is where I planted the old cloves. Over where the plants did really well, there's very little weed in there, and definitely want to be doing the mulching from here on out. Also, I'm going to try a new tool this year. Usually I just have a spade, and you know, it's kind of wide. Occasionally you accidentally damage a garlic. So I found this at a yard sale or something. I can't remember now where I found it, but it has this very unusual kind of bottom to it. I don't know what you call it. I don't know what it was really designed to do, but I'm going to try to use it to take out my garlic this year. So let's see how well that works. Alright, I finished harvesting the patch of garlic that was planted with the extra season old cloves that were shriveling but showing signs of growth. And did I get garlic? Yes, I did. Is it usable? Of course, you could eat it. But it is very inconsistent. Even though there was lots of big cloves, it didn't produce very big plants. I got a few decent sized heads that are, you know, more typical, but they are not, you know, the common. They are the exception. Most of the garlic heads are a little bit on the smaller side, and the bottom line is it's very inconsistent. So if you're trying to maximize your yield within a certain amount of space and effort, using extra season old garlic cloves is not the way to do it. But if that's all you have and you want to grow some garlic, it will definitely grow edible garlic. Alright, I'm not sure how well this is going to turn out. I got to try to keep it in focus. But if you want your garlic to look a lot nicer when you're harvesting it, while it's still damp, if it's damp, just rub the outer layers off with your thumb. If they're really wet and decayed, they just come right off. See? Now your garlic looks much better. Yes, I'm harvesting garlic in my jammy pants. Why? Because I can. I finished harvesting the large cloves that were fresh, and you can see they turned out much better. The size of the heads is very much more consistent, and they are on average much larger. So definitely fresh cloves of garlic will produce larger, better heads of garlic the next year. Now, I did clean these ones off, so they look more impressive than these ones over here. As I said, these ones are still usable garlic, and you could still replant the bigger ones the next year, and then they will be fresh and produce good garlic. And then one more, as if I needed another example, the one stalk that I forgot or that I missed, the scape, the one where the scape escaped me. You can see, if you look at stalk size, let's compare. These look about the same. If anything, this one might be slightly bigger. But look at the difference in the head. So, if anyone says, yeah, you don't have to cut off the scape. If scapes is your goal, certainly let them grow to full size and harvest your scapes. But you do so at the expense of usable garlic. I mean, that was a big clove, and that was the result without harvesting the scape. So, even bad quality cloves, if you take the scape off, will produce usable garlic compared to leaving the scape on. So I'm running out of daylight, but more importantly, I'm running out of energy. So in order to get a sampling of all the garlic, I made a little pass all the way along the one end. So I've got all the old cloves, the large cloves, the medium cloves, and then I was getting into the small and extra small. So if I pan up the row, you'll see, that's the extra small, and then, the heads get bigger as the cloves got bigger. And even though I didn't weigh them, I just kind of sorted them by size, as how they looked. As you're pulling them out of the box that I had them sorted into, your hand's going to grab the biggest ones first. So there's definitely a clear trend. Larger cloves produced larger heads. But that said, even the smallish, medium-sized cloves produce pretty good size heads. Even some of these extra small ones actually turned out okay. I mean, if your recipe called for 2 large cloves of garlic, instead you just use that whole head, So it's totally usable, and if all you had was small ones, I'd say go ahead and plant them. And officially, I have decided this is my new garlic harvesting tool. It works much better than a spade. I only noticed damage on one garlic head so far. So it's easier to use without damaging the garlic, and just easier to use in general. I had tried using like a gardening fork before, and it's not really much better than a spade. This tool being narrower, but just wide enough to lift up a substantial amount of earth, loosens up a group of heads nicely. Are you gonna do something cute? Are you gonna do something cute? No. It says this is it. This is as cute as I get. Alright, for the most part.